Hi everyone, so welcome to this masterclass which is about external validation. So in this masterclass, we are going to talk about, how you can heal your bent towards external validation. That is how you can stop depending upon others to validate you or approve of you, okay? So this masterclass is for somebody who who feels that they often want others to validate them, and when they do not get validated, when others do not approve of their decision or what they think, it really affects them. It affects them to the point that it creates a lot of doubt in their mind, a lot of confusion in their mind, and it leads to a lot of worries in their mind, unnecessary worries, even though they know that I want to do something and they want to do something. But because others do not feel the same way, because others think that I don't think you can do it, or this is the right choice for you, you also start to doubt yourself. And but still a part of you wants to do it, so you have also come to realize that this your need to feel validated by others has also become problematic to you. So if you are somebody like this, this masterclass is apt for you. Here you are going to find, what do you need to exactly work upon, how like why do you have this need at the first place, why do you have this need to be validated by others a lot. And you're going to see complete, the resolution part, what you can do or what you should be doing. And like this masterclass is going to be helpful to you. So before we begin, I will just tell you in short what we are going to cover. First, we are going to understand that why does one ever have this need to feel validated, and when does it become a problem. Then we are going to see the impact of your life. Here you can measure out what's the intensity of it for you personally, specifically. And then we are going to move to the main part of this masterclass, which is solving it. That is the resolution. In this we will further have two types. First is we are going to understand why do you have this need to be validated, because to solve any problem first we need to understand the problem, the better way. So first we understand why do you have this bent towards external validation, and then we are going to see how can you heal this, or what is the uh, method to what you should be doing to heal your bent towards external validation. And we are going to end this masterclass with uh, in such a way that you will know what you should be doing and how you can solve this problem 100%. So we'll not waste any time and just start right off. So first question, why does one seek validation ever? Now, this is something that I found very interesting, and I came across this while I was just researching on this topic and just watching some videos over it. So one thing that I realized was that wanting to feel validated is not exactly the problem. So oftentimes we think that when we see that okay, I'm this certain way, I doubt myself a lot, I want others to validate me. But at the same point, we also see people who are not this way. We also come across people who are just carefree. They are very open with what they want to say, what they want to choose, and they don't rely upon others as much as we do. So we see that people are different than us. So and then what we conclude to is that the fact that I want to feel validated is the problem. So we somehow think that wanting to feel validated is the problem. But the interesting thing that I realized is that having this need to be validated is not the problem, because see, we are humans, and this need to be validated has been there in us for a very long time. Earlier in the older times, it was about, because it was about being a part of a tribe. Because if you were not a part of a tribe, it's like uh, I mean, it would directly threaten your survival. You might die. Because so for then, back then, to be validated meant to be a part of tribe. And in today's time, to be validated means it feels like to belong, to be a part of a community, to belong, just to feel belong and accepted. Okay, so wanting to feel validated is not the problem. That is one thing I want you to understand. So that is not the problem. The problem is that uh, the problem it becomes a problem when we start depending upon others to validate us. Okay, so let's get one thing straight, that your need to feel validated is not the problem. That is not the problem. Everybody, even other people who you see are very bold with what they want, and they just go ahead and choose it and do it. Even they have this need to be validated. The only difference is that in our case, we start depending upon others to validate us, and we'll actually discover this in more detail in the next topic. Okay, so we'll just move to that. So, yeah, so when does seeking validation become a problem? So, as I discussed, seeking a validation becomes a problem only when we start depending upon others to validate us. Okay, when we, uh, when we start feeling that others' approval matters to us a lot, and we start and that ultimately leads us to, to be influenced by others' opinion easily. So that is when it becomes a problem. All right. And one sign to check this, like how big of a problem it has become for you, is to notice that, so if you're somebody who gets easily affected by others' opinion, as in, if somebody, appreciates you, you become very happy, instantly. You get happy, happy a lot in a very instant time. And at the same moment, when somebody disagrees with you or criticizes you or does not agree with what you want or what you believe in, or what you put out, your opinion, it really affects you a lot. You get upset, and ultimately you end up changing your decision or changing your belief, and following what others believed in, following their opinion. So if this is happening with you, that if others opinion is affecting you very easily, and a lot, to a lot greater extent, that is a sign that you have a bent towards external validation to a point that it has become problematic. All right, so moving to the next topic, which is how does seeking external validation become problematic? That is the impact. We are going to see that when we have this bent towards external validation, what is the impact? How is it causing us problem exactly? So, first thing, you doubt yourself a lot. So, see, when you want others to validate you, and when you start depending upon others to make you feel good about yourself, or make you feel assured of your decision or opinion, one thing that happens is you doubt yourself a lot. Okay, so the fact that you are depending upon others to make you feel good means that you doubt yourself a lot. So any opinion that comes from you, or anything that is coming from your system naturally, authentically, your views, your core values, your core beliefs, whatever you feel about, any particular topic, you doubt it all. You doubt your decisions, you doubt anything that's coming from your system. So that is one thing that happens, okay? And you will agree with me on this, because it is the fact that we doubt ourselves that we start depending upon or trusting others more. So one thing that happens is you doubt yourself a lot, okay? Second thing that happens is you are unable to be your authentic self. Now, very simple. See, when you first thing was that you doubt yourself, and when you doubt yourself, and it's very hard for you. When you doubt yourself, you doubt anything that comes out of your system. And when it comes to being authentic self, being authentic means that you're able to put up things or opinions, or your original views about anything, or what you really believe in. So it's about saying or being what you really believe in or you are. But because you have this want to be validated, to be approved by others, oftentimes you end up changing your views, or like being influenced by others opinion, just so that others approve of you, just to fulfill that need of yours. And and ultimately this stops you from being your authentic self, okay? Now, the third thing that happens is you are unable to do what you want to do in life. How? So how does how does you depending upon others to validate you stops you from doing what you want to do in life? Very simple. So, oftentimes what happens is we all have our inner voice, okay? And we all get that, we all know what we want to do, or sometimes we know that, okay, this is something I want to do. So we all have these choices, okay? But now when you have this bent towards external validation, oftentimes what happens is you know what you want to do, you know what you want to choose for yourself, but because it doesn't get approved by others, or others just say that I don't think you can do it, or I don't think this is the right choice, or others maybe the intention is good, maybe their intention is to protect you, and intention could be anything. So just because others do not approve of your decision, it really makes you doubt your decision, and even though you want to do something, you end up not doing it a lot of times. Now, in certain cases, what can also happen is, suppose you somehow gather the courage to choose what you wanted to choose. So you choose it, okay? But then what will happen is you will doubt yourself so much at a step of every at every step of process, that you will end up utilizing a lot of your energy into doubting your entire process. And ultimately what that does is it takes you farther away from your goal. So it's like, even if suppose you chose what you wanted to choose, okay? But then when you're doing it, when you are in the process of pursuing it, you will you will having a lot of thoughts about, where you will feel that, is this the right choice, did I choose right? And and when the moment you get one setback, in that process, you will start feeling that, they were right, I shouldn't have chosen this, I cannot do this, all of those things start coming up. And I mean, you doubt yourself so much that it actually becomes very hard for you to actually pursue it and achieve what you wanted to choose, what you wanted to achieve. Why? Because again, you somewhere trust as others more than yourself. I mean, that doubting still remains there, even though you gather up the courage to choose what you wanted to, but that doubt remains there. So that was very instant thing that happened, that okay, I want to do this, I will go by this. But because the your bent towards external validation is not healed completely, you will keep doubting yourself in the throughout the process, and that will ultimately take you back to your original self, where you again want to be approved by others. All right, so this was how depend or seeking external validation becomes a problem exactly. Now coming to the interesting part, that is how do I heal my pattern of external validation? How do I stop depending upon others to validate me? So as I discussed, that wanting to feel validated is not the problem. It becomes a problem when we start depending upon others to validate us. So when it comes to solving this, what we want to do is we want to strike a balance in between external validation and internal validation. Now, what is internal validation? See, just as in external validation we are depending upon external factors to validate us, external factors as in other people. In internal validation, we start depending upon ourselves, upon we start depending on internal factors to validate us. Now what do I mean when I say internal factors? So it internal validation means when I start depending upon my inner voice, my gut, my intention, my core values of life to actually validate myself. That is exactly what internal validation is. Now the fact that at present you have a bent towards external validation, it means that you are unable to exercise internal validation, which means you are not really exercising or validating yourself using your internal factors. So that is what the current situation is. That is, we have a bent towards external validation, we are not using the internal validation at present. Now, okay, so when we, and one thing to note here is that when we are talking about healing external validation, what our goal is to develop internal validation, develop as in to start exercising internal validation. Now now the when we go deep down into the, now our focus becomes upon how do I learn to exercise internal validation. So when I say internal validation, we also use the term self validating ourselves, because it's the same. When I talk of internal validation, it means that being able to self validate yourself, so we also use the term self validate. So now the first question that becomes is, because we are going to focus on this part only, because healing external validation means being able to validate your own self. So now the first question that comes in is, why is it that you're not able to self validate yourself at present? Because we know that we have this bend towards external validation, but some people do not. So why is it that why is it that I cannot self validate myself while other people can? First question, okay? So, see, one thing that you need to understand is you can only validate yourself when you trust yourself. Because what is validating yourself? Validating yourself means that first is you are able to listen to yourself. You are able to listen to your inner voice, to what you want, to what you feel about something, and what your original thoughts upon something are, and then to be able to stick to it, to be able to trust it, to be able to believe into it, to be able to give it the same weightage as we do to others thoughts, in the case of external validation. So when it comes to validating, internal validation, to be able to validate ourselves, it is about being able to listen what we want, what we feel about something, and then being able to trust it enough to stand by it. So that is what I mean when I say internal validation. So why is it that you cannot validate yourself? See, you can only validate yourself when you trust yourself, okay? So trusting here, being able to trust yourself is the main part here. So now we are further going to understand that, okay, so why is that why, you might ask that why is it that I cannot trust myself enough at present? So now you know that you cannot self validate yourself because somewhere your self trust is hampered or broken. So now you may ask that why is it that I'm not able to trust myself at present? See, how much you trust yourself, or your self trust, is something that we all develop in our very formative years. Formative as in tender days, that is childhood, you can say. So it is something that we develop in our childhood. So if you are somebody who the fact that you have a broken self trust means that when you were a child, whenever you put up something, or just said, or just and or when you were just being yourself, whenever you put up something that you wanted to say, or whenever you were just being your own self, being very free with what you wanted to say, or what you believe about something, it was either rejected, or you were either criticized for it, or you, because I mean, at the end of the day, you felt that whatever you had to say, or whatever you wanted to say originally, it was not taken well, or you felt that it was wrong, that there was some fault whatever you were saying. So over time, what happens is, when this happens a lot of times, so in your formative years, if you felt that whatever you had to say, I mean, it was not taken well, it was not appreciated, but rather rejected or criticized. Over time, you begin to feel that, what I have to say, uh, it's not right, it's oftentimes it is proved to be wrong. Rather, what other people have to say, I mean, they are better than me. What they bring up on the table is often right, and what I bring up is often wrong. So if you I mean, if you feel, and if this happens with you, over time, frequently, you start to feel that there's some problem, or there's a fault in the way you think and feel. So over time, your self trust gets broken. Your internal chatter is like, I cannot trust myself, I mean, I cannot trust myself with what I really feel or want. And over time, you start to depending upon others. You start to depend upon others. So you also you start trusting others more than yourself, because now you have evidence that, whenever I put up something, or whenever I say what I really feel about, it's not taken well. But whenever others do it, oftentimes it's taken well. So over time, you start to believe that the way I think or I feel, it's wrong. There's some fault in the way. And so as a child, you make a decision that I will not trust myself. I would rather listen to what others have to say, and I would rather follow them, because usually they are right and I'm wrong. Okay, so this is how your self trust gets hampered. It is nothing. It is not something that you might remember, or that you might recall that, okay, this is exactly how it happened. But today, as an adult, it's stored in your subconscious mind as a as a it's like, now it's set, it's programmed. Now there is no option to even trust yourself, and that is why now you're till now you have been just operating on this one sentence or one decision, that I cannot trust myself. You never questioned it, because it is stored in your subconscious, something that you decided upon very long back ago. All right, so this is why it's hard for you to trust yourself, and that is why you could not self validate yourself. Okay, so one thing to know is that, as a side note, I have written here. See, uh, depending upon others to validate is like giving away the, giving the power, giving others the power to lead your life. So it's actually a lot of power that you have given away to others. Okay, and it's like you saying that, because I don't trust myself enough, I choose you to decide for me. I choose you to take all my decisions. It's like you trust others blindly for yourself. And one thing, one perk that happens, one perk or one advantage that you feel, is that, when I'm being this way, that when I give others the power to choose for myself, when I listen to them, when my decisions come from them, when I get influenced by them. So one thing that you feel is that, I do not have to be responsible for what's happening in my life. Why? Because see, whatever is happening in your life is because it's nothing but consequences of the decision or choices that you have made. So now you somewhere, and this happens very in a subtle way, uh, it frees you of being responsible for what's happening in your life. So somewhere you feel that, even if something goes wrong, you have that, okay, this person made me choose this. Or I'm not saying um, in a way that you become, irresponsible, but it happens very subtle, that you don't have to feel responsible for what's happening in your life. Sometimes it comes as a perk, you know so I'm telling this because when you will start exercising internal validation, when you will start self validating yourself, after you're done with this masterclass and you learn how to move towards internal validation, this is one problem or resistance that will come, that you will feel. Because when it comes to internal validation, when you will start to self validate yourself, one thing that will happen is, uh, because it will come with, it will come with you being responsible for what you are choosing in life. Because choosing in life, you will often feel that this heaviness, that, I mean, oh my god, if I choose this, I will be responsible even if it goes wrong. But I want you to understand this, that there is no right or wrong decision. Any decision that we make, it can either go wrong or right, no matter if it's coming from your system or from other. Okay, and at the end of the day, you are the one who is going through all the consequences. You are the one who is going to face, even if a decision goes wrong or right. So just being fearful, and fearful of being responsible of a decision, uh, and because of this fear, not taking decision your own self, rather letting others do it, is not, really a good thing. Doesn't make any difference, because you are the one who has to live the consequences of any decision that you ultimately make in life. So it's better that you take your decision your own self. Okay. And with time, this will go away. With time, the more you practice self validation, the more you learn to validate your own self, this will go away with time. You will rather start enjoying being responsible for every choice or every decision that you take in life. It will feel heavy only in the start, because it is something new that you're doing. Okay. So moving to the next part, which is how can you like what can you do to self validate yourself. So one thing we understood, so we are talking about, healing our bent towards external validation. So when I say to solve our bent towards external validation, what we need to develop is internal validation. And what is internal validation? Being able to self validate ourselves. To be able to self validate yourself, you need to trust yourself. Okay. So we have come to this point where we know that what we need to work upon is trusting ourselves. So when I say what can you do to self-validate yourself, first we are entirely going to focus upon how can you trust yourself. First part of that, we are going to restore your self-trust. Okay. Now, how do you restore your self-trust? As we discussed, self-trust is something you learned in your life. Okay. It is not something that you were assigned by birth. Okay, that you will only have 5% of self-trust. You cannot have more than that, or somebody was given 100% of self-trust. No, nothing like that. So first thing we do is restore self-trust. In this, what we do is, just like you learned not to trust yourself at one point in your life, we are going to learn to trust ourselves, or we are going to rather do the belief work, wherein we will go back to the child version of us who made the decision that I cannot trust myself. We are going to go back to that time, see that child, feel that child, understand that child, that what made that child feel that they cannot trust themselves. Your own child version, we are going to understand them. And because, when once we do this belief work, that is when that belief stored in our subconscious will get, resolved. That okay, that decision that I cannot trust myself is not written in stone, it's not embedded on stone. We can rewrite it, we can resolve that also. So, what we do exactly here is, see, as I said, not trusting yourself is something you learned. So, when I say that, there are definitely some instances or circumstances that happened to you in your life where you felt that, I cannot trust myself, I'm not reliable, whatever I said was not taken well, there is some fault in the way I think. So, it could be one or two instances where which is stored in your subconscious. Okay, so we try to go back to that time. What we do is we see what exactly happened. Okay. And when we go there, this time we go as an adult self, which is much more powerful, and powerful. And because now as an adult, you now as an adult, you will be able to understand the child version of you. But for the child version of you, it was a very big thing. For them, it was a big thing enough to declare, to make a verdict that I cannot trust myself. But today, when we go back to that child version of us, we go as an adult. So it will be very easy for you, not easy, but it will be possible for you to understand the child version of us and really resolve that fear around trusting yourself, around trusting yourself, and come to a point where where your body will finally allow you to trust yourself. Give yourself the chance of trusting yourself, because till now, till this date, trusting yourself was not even a choice. It was not even an option, because that verdict was there in your mind that I cannot trust myself. So there was no question that can I trust myself. But now, when you go back and resolve and understand yourself deeply, that why did you choose that, why did you feel that you cannot trust, why you cannot trust yourself, it's eventually like giving yourself the permission to trust yourself again, giving yourself a chance that okay, let's see what happens, let's see how does it feel when I give myself a chance to trust myself again. So that is what we are going, but what that is what we do in restoring our self trust. So so one thing that you can do when it comes to restoring self trust is, I want you to ask yourself, what makes me feel that I cannot trust myself. And I know when you ask this question, a lot of recent evidences will come into your life, a lot of recent, because whenever the moment we believe into something, that is what we experience in our physical reality. So when you will ask yourself that, what makes me feel that I cannot trust myself, you will actually start counting on a lot of recent experiences that you have, from your uh, in your reality, but I want you to recall the first memory of it, the first time, whatever you can remember, whatever comes to you, the first time you felt that I cannot trust myself, or you felt that you cannot depend upon yourself. The first time, I want you to recall the first memory of it, because I know that, the moment you believe, because you have this belief, because your self trust is broken, uh, I mean, you must have a lot of evidences. If I talk about the right now, the current times, you must have a lot of evidences of it in your life. So I don't want you to depend, count on those or visit those, but rather the first memory of it, the first time, whenever you can recall, when you felt that I cannot trust myself. Okay, visit those. I mean, recall those incidents, and really look into what happened exactly. Okay, and sit with it. Whatever, whatever happened, sit with it. Okay, and process those emotions, because oftentimes we don't process our emotions, and that is when, we that is when it remains in our body, and we give it a lot of power over us. But once we process our hard emotions also, that is when it gets released from our body, that is when it loses its power. Now this was about restoring self trust. So the moment you restore self trust, it is like, um, giving yourself a chance to trust yourself again. Okay, giving yourself a chance or permission to trust yourself. Now, second is practicing self trust. Now, why practicing self trust? Because, see, just because you have restored self trust, or just because you have uh, like done the belief work around, trusting yourself, it doesn't mean that that you will be able to trust yourself right away. That it will be easy for you to just listen to what your inner voice is saying and then trust yourself. No, it doesn't happen that way, because it's a process. You learn to trust yourself, and learning happens when through practice. So that is why the second part is practicing self-trust. Now what happens, what do I mean when I say practice self-trust? How does it look like? How can you do it? So when it comes to practicing self-trust, what I exactly mean is, the next time whenever you're doing something, or whenever it comes to choosing something, very very small thing also, what I want you to do is, I want you to listen to what you want, what you feel about it, what your inner voice is saying it, what your gut or intuition wants you to go with. I want you to listen to yourself. First step of it, listen to yourself. Okay, and then second thing that I want you to do is, stick by it, believe in it, trust it. I mean, trust it. How do you trust it? You really give yourself a chance at it. You really want to, or you really begin to trust it. Whatever you feel about something, whatever you want to say about something, okay, you really trust it also. Because till now what you have been doing is, you listen to yourself. Okay, you know what you want, you come to, a decision that, okay, this is something I would like to. But what happens the next time, what happens the next moment is, the moment somebody comes and rejects it, the moment somebody comes and say that I don't think this is the right thing, I don't think this will work for you, you doubt yourself. You doubt yourself to the extent that you just ditch the idea. You say, yes, this person is right, I will do what they are saying. But now what I want you to do is, instead of giving the entire power to others, 100% power to others, I want you to keep 50% of it with yourself. That is, before you go to others with that decision that, okay, this is something I want to do, tell me what your opinion is, I want you to develop that 50% of trust on yourself, and keep that, I mean, mm, have that 50% of your mind made up. That 50% of my mind sticks with this decision, one which is coming from your body. Okay, one that you feel, what you feel about it. So practicing self trust means, and when I say practice, it happens, with small things also. I'm not taking about only, you only get to practice your self trust when it comes to making a big decision of your life, or choosing something very big on a greater scale. No, even when it comes to very small things, like just deciding what I want to eat, or what I want to order, when I'm in a, uh, group of my friends, instead of just depending upon others, or just going with others, that, okay, I will also have that. You go with what you want, you listen to what you want, and you exercise it, you trust yourself there, no matter how, what others say about it, even if others laugh at it, doesn't matter. You learn to self trust yourself. Okay, so this is how practicing self trust will look like, and this is something, the more you do, the better you get at it. In the start, it will feel hard. It will come with a lot of resistance. Oftentimes you will have this urge to, let's just not do this, let's just listen to what others are saying. But trust me, when it comes to learning something new, it becomes easier the more you practice it. Okay, that is why I'm saying that start with small things. You don't have to all of a sudden make a big decision in your life and then do it anyway, or just become stubborn and do it the way you want. No, start with small things. Start with small things. Over time you will learn to, trust yourself enough to validate your own self. All right. So one thing that I want to like something that I want to make clear here is, when when we are learning here to, develop our internal validation, or exercising internal validation, or just self validating ourselves, we don't mean that, you stop listening to others, or we just ditch what others have to say, or we develop an ego. We are not here coming from a place of ego. Not okay, we are not doing that. What we are doing is, we are we are also, listening to or respecting our own decision, respecting our own feelings. And what we want to do is, we want to do that, and while being open to what others have to say. Just, the only thing that we don't want to do happen here is that don't want to do is, ditch ourselves, or, just put ourselves at the back and just give weightage or respect to others opinion. No, we what we want to do is, we want to have our own say and then listen to others. It's not that we are coming from a place of ego, that I will just listen to myself. It's not about being stubborn. It's about believing in yourself also, believing or trusting your own self also, that what I feel, what I want, what my opinion is also valid, and I stick by it, and I stand by it. So much so, and why we're doing it, we're doing it so that if tomorrow you want to do something, and you feel about that you want to do it, even if it seems very risky to you, but because you want to do it, you are able to do it. I mean, if there is strong desire in you, because see, when it comes to your potential is something that, oftentimes others would not see in you. Others would not tell you that, you do it. Others will not never take responsible of your life, responsibility of your life. It is you who will have to, who get that sense that I can do it. That is how you explore your potential, or expand your potential. So when it comes to exploring your potential fully, you will ultimately have to depend upon your that in internal validation. You will have to believe into yourself enough to actually take that small risk, take that, chance on yourself. Others will never, come and tell you that yes, you can do it, because when it comes to potential, it comes with the risk of failing also. So you will be able to do all of that only when you believe in yourself, only when you become capable enough to be responsible for the consequences of any decision that you make. Okay. All right, so this was all about, healing your bent towards external validation. So when I talk about solving your bent towards external validation, or having that need to for others to validate, come and validate me, I we exactly mean, we want to develop our internal validation. Okay, and when it comes to developing internal validation, it is about being able to self validate yourself. And you can self validate yourself when you trust yourself enough. And when it came to how do you develop that self trust in you, two things. First, we restore the self trust, that is, we find out why is it that I can trust myself. What is my first memory attached to not being able to trust myself? What made me feel that I'm not reliable or I cannot trust myself? We go there, we feel that emotion, we process those emotions. We really see our younger version for who they were. What does restoring self trust help us is, it allows us to, it gives us the permission to trust ourselves again. Now, just having the permission to trust ourselves again doesn't mean that it will become easy for us to trust ourselves and self validate ourselves from the other day like anything. No, that is where practicing self trust comes into picture. Practicing self trust means being able to listen to what you want, what you feel about something, and then stand by it. Give it exactly as much weightage as you do to others when you exercise external validation. So this was about how you can heal your external validation. Now, just a small part, what does your bent towards external validation say about your self concept? See, when you have this, bent towards external validation, it means that you do not self validate yourself at present. So, and when do you not self validate? When you do not trust yourself enough. And when you do not trust yourself enough, somewhere you believe, you have such core beliefs like, I can trust myself, I'm not reliable, I cannot make the right decision for myself. And what happens when you believe into such, like unhelpful beliefs? It simply means that your self concept is hampered. Self concept, as in what you think and believe about yourself. And it's very important, because the life you're living, whatever is happening in your physical reality, it is nothing but a reflection of your core beliefs. Some of which are, I can't trust myself, I'm not reliable, I cannot make the right decisions for myself. So when you actually work upon healing your external validation, you also heal your self concept. Okay, so it's like win-win situation for you. So yeah, so this was all that I had about, external validation. How do you heal it? So I mean, uh, I hope you have a deeper understanding of this topic. You now understand why do you have it. You also have knowledge about how does the resolution look like. You can get started on it. You can start working upon it, the restoring self-trust part, and then practicing it. If you have any question, you can DM me. Or if you want to, if you want to work upon your bent towards external validation with me, to solve it, to heal it 100%, to become a version of you who is able to believe into themselves, okay, who doesn't doubt themselves all the time. So you book a one-on-one call with me, and to do that, just DM me coaching, and I'll send you the link, and you can book a session, or you can just visit my LinkedIn featured section. There you can have, there we have a section where you can just book a one-on-one clarity call with me. So at present, I'm offering free, first two calls, free. So yeah, if you want to book the call, just DM me coaching, and I'll send it to you. And if you have any question regarding this topic, or if you want to share your insights or anything that comes up for you, my DMs are open to you. All right, so this was all for this masterclass, and I'll see you in the next masterclass. All right, bye bye.